Good morning. Let's roll. Page 62, Pasuk Tet Zain. Lehatzilcha meisha zara menachuya omeret helchalika haozevet aluf neorea ve'et brit Elohea shechecha ki shacha el mavet beta ve'el refaim mekoltea ki ba'ea lo yeshuvim ve'lo yasigu orchot chaim leman telech b'derech tovim ve'orchot tzedikim tishma. We're going to explain this. Let's explain English first. He says, whose ways are crooked and who are perverse in their courses, to rescue you from a strange woman, from the foreign woman whose words are glib, who forsakes the husband of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God, for her house declines towards death and her course towards the lifeless. All who come to her do not return, nor do they attain the paths of life, in order that you may walk in the way of the good and keep the paths of the righteous. Let's explain this in English, not in art school English. Shlomo now really, what does it mean, lehatzilcha meisha zara, to save you from a strange woman? Shlomo now gives a concrete example of what really the Torah protects us from. The isha zara, which is that foreign woman, represents not only literal immorality, but also a deeper really seduction of a distraction and of a fantasy and of temptation of the world, right? What's the number one thing alluded to temptation is woman, right? So he's saying it's not just immorality, but it's temptation as a whole, and it's the voice that comes to us, just a little pleasure, just a little thing here, just a little small escape. It's harmless. Nothing is going to happen to you if you do this. But really the Torah calls it foreign because it doesn't belong to your true essence as a person. Now, the wise heart recognizes, like we said a lot of times, that the greatest danger isn't always evil, it's this emptiness dressed as beauty. Right? What's a seduction? Something that's so bad, but it's seducing you. Right? Not just women, anything. Think about anything. And the Torah's wisdom really trains you to see through that mask of that garbage. Now, continuing on, from the smooth talking stranger, temptation, rarely appears, ugly. It speaks smoothly, like a smooth talker. You have this in Israel, lo alenu, you have in Israel that there's a lot of, Jewish women who get, seduced by Arab men, and then they get up, and they end up moving to God knows where, like they move to Shechem, they move to Gaza. There's a lot of stories, and there's an organization, I think it's called Lev Le'achim. Is it Lev Le'achim? I think so. Or Yad Lachem, they rescue these Jewish women who live with Arabs, and they said now during the Gaza war they got a lot of them out. Literally regular Jewish women. When I was in Israel, I was shocked. I was walking with my friends once on a Thursday night to get cholent from some place, and there was this regular religious girl walking around with an Arab. That's the seduction, right? It's a scary thing, It never really, a seduction really tells you what you want to hear. It appeals to your ego, really, right? And your loneliness and your exhaustion. When someone is lonely, what happens? When someone, the Pirkei Avot says this: a person should always be busy. Why? Because if you're not busy, you end up doing sin. Seduction comes when the person is not busy with things. Never announces itself as a sin or presents itself as something, comfort, some validation and escape from your regular life. But wisdom within the lev, within the heart, mezima tishmor alecha, allows you really to sense danger even when the words of that danger sound sweet to you. You understand that it's danger, right? And you begin to notice, a subtle manipulation to you and the false flattery in the world and the inner disquiet that follows the wrong choices that this makes you do. Torah gives you that radar. The inner radar, the sensitivity to say, that, this looks good, but something about it is not right. Right? It looks good, but it's not right. And ha'ozevet aluf neorea, she who abandoned the companion of her youth, the pasuk really reveals that the root of the corruption, which is forgetting loyalty. When a Jew falls down, it's because he doesn't really realize how great he is. A Jew always has to understand. We say this every single morning. Modeh ani lefanecha, belachai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati bechemla rabbi moratecha. I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. What does the Rabbi Emunatecha? It should really be Emunati. Again, we're thanking God for bringing us to the world. So why are we saying our belief? It should be our belief in you. Why are we saying your belief in us every single morning? If you look at the words of Modani, it sounds off. And the rabbis explain that the reason why we say Emunatecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's belief in us, is to teach us and to understand every single day that God really believes in us every single day. The fact that you woke up today means that He believes in you to make the day great. And when you understand that, you could ultimately make moves in your life. To understand, to not forget that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you and wants you here today. There's a story of this guy. This guy was a terrible student in school, really stupid, just not smart, not bright at all, and he just wasn't down for school. What happens? He takes the SAT. His mother forced him to take the SAT. Takes the SATs. He got a crazy good grade. He didn't even study at all. He was shocked that he got a crazy good grade. What happens? He starts getting letters from different colleges, from Harvard, from Yale, from Princeton, from all these places. It's not such a chidush to get letters from them today, but he gets all these letters. He ends up going to Harvard. Okay, becomes a massive dude in like some hedge fund, real estate thing, and massive successful person. Wow. Again, this guy was crazy. Didn't understand a word. 10 years later, a statement comes out from the SAT grading that they messed up on the gradings. And really, he failed. Wow. Now let me ask you a question. How did he go through Harvard if he's a stupid person? Because the second he saw that someone believed in him, that the grades showed him that he's that, he ended up becoming that level. Wow. When someone believes in you, that's when you could ultimately do good. But first of all, you have to believe in yourself. Right? That's really the idea, that this Yetzer Hara is pushing you away, It's just pushing you from side to side, and you can't do anything. The soul, the neshama that was once pure, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was innocent, over time this temptation, lures it to forget its first love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that connection they have with God. Right? Every person begins life close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but what happens? The world really seduces us with endless distractions, until we forget who we walked beside, who really was with us from the beginning, or as we say, the beninging. That's that. And I continue on in the pasuk, ve'et brit elokecha shachacha, and you forgot the covenant of our God. This is perhaps really the most tragic line in this couple of pasukim, because sin is not just a moral slip; it's really the forgetting of your relationship with God. The worst thing is not the actual avera; it's the forgetting the brit elokecha, the covenant with God. It's not just, it's a bond. It's an intimacy with you and God. The whole Shir Hashem talks about this. To forget that bond is really to lose your own self-worth. Because Torah protects you not only by warning you of punishment, but also by constantly reminding you of who you are, right? You are literally a piece of God. Right? And every time you choose holiness over this impulse, you renew that covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now continue on. Ki shacha et el mavet beita. Our house sinks down to death. The path of temptation doesn't begin as mavet, as death. The pasuk says it begins as the pleasure, but slowly, like we said, it descends. Each indulgence, dulls the neshama a little more. Each compromise you take in your life, takes you a step further from your true self, until, as Shlomo Melech says here, shacha el mavet beita. The house of that pleasure leads downward to death. It's not physical death, it's a spiritual death, because it's a slow dying of this consciousness that you had, of purpose and of sensitivity to your own self. Wisdom sees the end from the beginning. It says that this road doesn't lead you where you actually think you're going to. It's going to move you around. And that's really the idea. We're gonna end off here. To live with these pesukim means really to live awake, to be awake, to notice that the pull of the olam, the world is telling you, and quietly say to yourself, that's not for me. I'm not that. It means to fill your chaim, your life, with enough sweetness of Torah and connection that the false pleasures lose their power. Right? The more positive you have in your life, the more the negative can affect your life. But you have to first build on that positive. Right? Mm-hmm. And the more you fill your heart with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the less space there is for emptiness in the world to enter you. Right? There's actually a story, Chacham Ovadia, Zatzal, his son, Chacham David, came to him and told him, here's a number. He wanted to give him his number for something. And he's like, but you don't know my number by heart? You know all the Torah by heart, you don't know my number by heart? He had a photographic memory. Mm-hmm. And Chacham Ovadia told him, he's like, if I remember your number, it'll take away my mind from remembering other things. So I don't want to use it on, mundane things. I'd rather use it for the Torah.
Wow.
That's the really idea. That's how chokhmah tavo b'libcha, when true wisdom truly enters your heart, it doesn't only teach you, but it protects you in this world. And B'ezrat Hashem, may we continue tomorrow.